So this is the second and final example for equations with fractions. So in the previous example, the only denominator that we had to think about was the x minus 1. And so there was no reason to factorize it because factorization was not an option, right? Whereas in this case, if you look at the denominators in question, we have x plus 3, we have 4 minus x, right? I'm just going to underline that like that. And we have x squared minus x minus 12. So at this point, you have to realize that this needs factorization. We need to factorize the trinomial so that we have our LCD more clearly than what it currently is, okay? So I'm going to show you a way that I would prefer you doing this to save yourself time, right? And to avoid repetition of the same fraction over and over and over again. So I would say in pencil, after you write down the scenario or the sum, go ahead and start factorizing that denominator, okay? So for this denominator, this will factorize down to x minus 4 and x plus 3, right? So if you take a moment to look at that, all right, you will start seeing that the denominators will sort of have a repetition. And with that being said, in my first fraction, I have the x minus 3, but in the middle fraction, the x minus 4 is the wrong way around, okay? But we can fix that by doing the sign changing rule. So the first fraction's denominator is just fine, but the second one needs to have a change in sign. So if we go make this x minus 4, which is fine, we need to take out the negative sign, all right? And when we do that, these two negatives will become a positive sign. So I'm going to write it down neatly. But everything I've just done is what I would expect you to do as preparation towards the answer, all right? So let's see. Okay, so at this point, the first step in solving this problem is concluded. We factorize the denominator in its entirety, and we see the same terms repeating, which should make you realize that you are on the right track, right? Because the x plus 3 and the x minus 4 is reflecting in the 7 over x minus 4 and x plus 3, okay? So now that we have our factorized denominator, we need to write down our LCD and our restriction, okay? So our LCD is going to have to include this guy, and this one as well, okay? And the only value that includes all three would be x minus 4 and x plus 3, right? As long as your LCD accommodates all the denominators, it's the right LCD, right? And then for our restriction, we're just going to write RES, okay? X cannot be equal to 4 because that will make the fraction 0, okay? So x cannot be 4. And the second one is that x cannot be equal to minus 3 because again, it will result in the denominator being 0 and then the whole thing is undefined. Now that we've done that, we can do the actual calculations, which is us multiplying by the LCD, right? So this is going to take up a bit of writing space. And so I'm going to write it a bit smaller than the rest of the stuff. Okay, so going in with the green, I'm going to multiply each term by the LCD, which is x minus 4, x plus 3, right? X minus 4 over here, x plus 3, and then also for the last term, x minus 4, x plus 3. Because all of these are fractions, we can just put it over 1 if you want, right? And now at this point, we have the option to cancel, right? Which is, of course, my favorite thing to do. So the x plus 3's can cancel on this one. The x minus 4's will cancel on this one. And everything will cancel for this one, right? So now at this point, we just need to proceed with caution because this binomial needs to be multiplied by the green binomial. And we don't want to miss out on any of the signs. So what remains here is 2x minus 5 and x minus 4, right? We'll work it out now. Plus 1 multiplied by x plus 3, and all that is equal to 7. Now we go ahead and expand. We will end up with 2x squared minus 12x plus 16. That is what we will get once we bring the 7 over and solve everything. You can work it out on your own. Then I'm going to simplify this further and divide each term by 2 so that we get x squared minus 6x plus 8 equal to 0. Then we go ahead and factorize this by saying x minus 4 and x minus 2 is equal to 0. And then at this point, right, our two solutions is equal to 4 or x is equal to 2. So before you go ahead, or before I go ahead and draw my arrows to say that I'm done, you need to check your restriction with your solution. So the restriction was that x cannot be equal to 4 and x cannot be equal to 3. We figured that out in the start. So therefore this here is not applicable, right? And the only solution is when x is equal to 2. So a brief recap. When we have a complicated equations with fraction sum, one where we have trinomial or a difference of two squares, even a common factor, you start by factorizing your denominator. Once you do that, you determine your LCD and the restrictions. Then you multiply each term by the LCD, and at the very end you must check your solution to make sure that your restrictions or the values that do not apply are excluded from the answers. Thank you for watching.